Welcome to Couchonomics with Arjun. The show aims to unravel the layers of the fintech sector and the rapidly evolving tech startup ecosystem across the MENA region and beyond. I am your host Arjun, and I will be inviting founders, executives, investors, regulators, and other influential stakeholders to discuss and dissect the highs and lows of their own ventures and how they foresee the wider ecosystem evolve. Join us as we celebrate success and the spirit of risk-taking, the candid discussion that goes past the timid question and cautious answers. This show is produced in collaboration with Adyan, a reliable end-to-end payment solution that enables businesses to turn payments into a strategic growth driver. We're also brought to you by Lulu Financial Group, a global financial services provider headquartered in Abu Dhabi and operating in 11 countries. Finally, Couchonomics with Arjun Singh is brought to you by M2P Fintech, Asia's leading payment infrastructure company that enables businesses of any scale to embed financial products. Welcome to this episode of Couchonomics with Arjun Singh. I'm your host, Arjun, and today I'm joined by Maaz Sheikh. Maaz is the CEO of StarzPlay. Well, I've known Maaz for a few years. Actually, it goes back, I think, 5 years ago, where we were sitting and eating biryani at a common doctor friend. With that, I'd like to thank Maaz for making time. Maaz,
thank you, Arjun.
Welcome for coming.
Thank you.
And I hope the couch is comfortable.
It's very comfortable. Thank you.
All right. Let me also start with, congratulating you. Obviously it was all over the news. Etisalat and ADQ have, I think, taken a majority stake in your business, which I think valued StarzPlay at approximately 420 million, which is incredible. Right?
Thank you, Arjun.
And I think I was kind of there at the start of the journey when we first met, and I think I was nagging you on subscriptions. I think I was trying to get a free subscription or something like that, knowing me. But thank you for being here. Maaz, let's dive straight in, right? We're going to start with embedded finance, right? And I know as a topic, it's getting increasingly demystified. People now kind of sort of understand embedded finance. And it's capturing the imagination of a number of non-banking, non-financial services sectors, whether they are retailers, whether they are airlines, whether they are platform, grocery providers, or media and entertainment players. Now, if I remember you correctly, I don't know if it was a month or two ago, or maybe longer, I think you had mentioned in print where you said you created a fintech or a financial services business within StarzPlay. Talk to us a little bit about it. What is it that you did? What made you do it? And did it add value?
Sure. So the last part of your question, did it add value? Tremendous value. We wouldn't be here today if we hadn't evolved our sort of payment solutions infrastructure, if you will. So to answer your question, I have to go back in time a bit.
Please.
So we launched our business, Arjun, in early 2015, and it was before Netflix entered the region, before there were other global streaming platforms. We were one of the first few streaming services to launch in the market, and our business is such that you have to launch with a certain amount of minimum volume of content, because otherwise you're not going to subscribe to the service. So what that does is increases your licensing costs from studios. So you start with a fairly high amount of fixed cost until you start signing up subscribers. So it's one of those businesses that has relatively high fixed cost up front. Mm-hmm. And so we signed up several major studios, thousands of hours of content, and we launched our service. And the only way you could sign up and pay for the service was through Visa and MasterCard. And I still remember the first few days when each day our target was to sign up, say 1,000 customers a day. And here we had thousands of hours of content, hundreds of movies, and we were signing up, 20 to 25 customers a day. Wow. From our target of 1,000. So you can imagine walking in every day after a year and a half of work and seeing those kind of numbers. And, just like with any startup, when you first get started, you look back and you realize you've made a few mistakes. Some assumptions are wrong. And we always knew that launching with credit card only would be a challenging business, online business. But we grossly underestimated how challenging it would be. Because we were thinking, our target is 1,000 a day, 1,000 new subs a day, but we'll probably do 300 or 400. We'd never in our wildest, craziest dreams thought that we'd only do 20 or 25. And so we had to, after a month or two, we realized that this is not scaling on.
Things got to change.
Things got to change. And we looked around trying to figure out what other options are available in the market. And especially in India and parts of Asia, there were companies like Paytm that were getting started, system integrators that were going to telcos and integrating with their billing systems. But nothing was quite available in the market yet in the MENA region. Mm-hmm. And so we had to, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. So we had to go solve that problem ourselves. And so our first mobile payment integration was with Etisalat in UAE. And as soon as we did that, we saw a 10x growth in our subscriber signups. And so then we knew, it doesn't take a genius to figure out, okay, you got to do that with every telco in every market, because we were covering all of Middle East and North Africa.
Well, yes, and you are.
And we still are. So we quick from that day, we started, that became part of our core strategy and core business. And we created a DNA within our company where we started to think to ourselves, as much as we are an entertainment company, we're also a fintech business.
Wow.
And now we have integrated with 24 mobile operators in Middle East and North Africa, and 3 in Pakistan.
Are you using any other alternative rails, any other alternative payment mechanisms?
We do. So we've, over the years, Arjun, we've expanded, right? So in Egypt, for example, there's Fawry. In Saudi, there's Sadad. So there, for each country, there are specific 1 or 2 additional payment options. And Apple in-app in last 2 years has scaled a lot.
Yes.
You know that better than anyone else, but yes, it scaled really well for us, especially in last 2 years during COVID. Apple in-app was extremely strong for us. Google as well over the last couple of years has improved, and we still have PayPal. So as far as payment options are concerned, we have over 35 different payment options.
So you truly made it frictionless, invisible, whatever the right word is, and I think that's how it should be.
And one of the lessons for us was, it's not just about credit card penetration.
It's not.
Right? It's also about trust, right? And because let's face it, the reality was subscribers would gladly sign up for Netflix, even though it wasn't available in the region, pay for it, sign up, pay for a VPN, pay with their credit card. But when it came to our brand and our service 7-8 years ago, they wouldn't trust us with their credit card. So I think using credit card online still requires that additional trust, especially if it's a recurring payment. Mm-hmm. And so I think this is where going through the mobile operators also helped us establish that trust and brand credibility, if you will, that we perhaps didn't have.
So let me ask a question. Did you do this all in-house? So you actually have now an in-house team which does this for you?
That's correct. So each one of these integrations is in-house.
So you have a team of engineers who are purely dedicated towards your payment infrastructure.
That's correct.
And so where did you source these people?
So look, I think I started in early 90s. I started my career with Sprint in US, which is a telecom carrier in US. And even back then, we would talk about the billing challenges that Sprint had back then. And so the telecoms of this world are extremely complex when it comes to their billing systems, given how many products they have and subscribers they deal with, regulatory limitations, confidentiality of the data. So integrations with the telecom operators are complex.
Yeah.
Commercial negotiations are challenging and complex and can take time. So I would say we now we have, I would say, maybe about 8 to 9 developers that are dedicated to it. But what we ended up doing is, with the first few integrations, we tried to productize, not to get too technical, but the APIs, the interface, as much as possible. And we tried to simplify it to, hey, what are the few calls that we need each way with each of the integrations to get the basics running. And so we have a team of 8 to 10 developers dedicated. And then what we ended up doing, Arjun, is we ended up building a microservice within our architecture to facilitate this. The lesson learned was, there are 2 lessons learned there. One was that the basic integration you do, where you can put in your Etisalat mobile phone number and sign up for the service. Something this basic is perhaps step 1 in what is really a 10-step journey to unlock the real value. So the real value is not that I did a basic integration with Etisalat, now you can sign up for the service and start consuming. The real value is doing that, giving Etisalat the ability to provision and activate the service. So you walk into Etisalat's business center and you're buying a mobile package. And now that agent has the ability to activate StarzPlay.
Sure.
Or you might want Deezer or Amazon Prime, whatever you want. The agent has the ability to activate the service for you on the fly as he's activating your SIM card. I think that's the kind of value, that's the kind of integration you need to unlock true value in the long run.
Totally agree. Are you going to launch BNPL?
No, we haven't gone that far. Until about a year ago, I didn't even know what BNPL meant. I could barely spell it.
You're obviously not reading my blogs then.
Well, maybe that's where I learned about it in the first place. No, not anytime soon, Arjun. Not anytime soon.
Well, there are some interesting products actually out on BNPL. I'm not going to do a sales pitch on it. As a matter of fact, Afterpay has launched a product somewhere in the US. I think it's in the US, which is for subscription-based expenditure. Yeah, it's actually quite interesting. And our friends down the road in the IFC, Tabby, they've just launched another very interesting product for recurring spends.
Okay.
Worth exploring. But in any case, we're not going to get into it. Let's come to Starz War or Streaming's War, as I say. Right? So we have lots and lots of streaming companies coming in, right? So you obviously took Netflix, there's Amazon Prime, there's StarzPlay. Well, Apple itself is in the game of it, HBO, indirectly OSN, so on and so forth. So how do you compete? Like, how do you stay relevant? How do you stay ahead of the curve? You've seen some phenomenal growth. And actually, thanks for reminding me, you were actually one of the first in the market, right? One sort of forgets that, right? So what do you do? How do you compete with all of this? How do you compete with these global players, with this global content? And I'm not suggesting you don't. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite shows is, I think, only exclusively with you guys.
Billions.
Yes.
Finance guy, Billions. That's an easy one.
Yeah, that was well picked. That was well picked. So how do you compete? Like, is it really going to get? Is there going to be a lot of blood on the dance floor, or there's space for all of you to sort of grow and prosper?
So, look, as far as what we do, what we have done in the past and what we'll do in the future, it's a bit of a cliche, but the name of the game is continuing to evolve and innovate and localize. I think we have found our edge in localization.
Sure.
So where global platforms find problems and challenges, we see opportunity and hope. Mm-hmm. So take payments, for example. Netflix launched all over the world before they launched in lots of other markets around the world before they came to MENA.
Yep.
And one of the reasons was you have to go into 21 different countries. Each country has its own regulation, lack of credit card penetration. So we took that lack of credit card penetration and turned it into an advantage for us. And similarly, going forward, I think there's opportunity to localize the overall experience and localize the content. What I mean by that is, hopefully you saw Pakistan India cricket T20 World Cup, and that was only on StarzPlay and Etisalat. So that's an example of us localizing as well as expanding beyond just TVs and movies into live sports. So in 2021, we expanded into live sports with UFC, golf, rugby, cricket, football. And so when we look at the future, we see three pillars of our service and how we're going to continue to differentiate. One is Hollywood's always been our bread and butter, and it's going to continue to be that way. But then we're going heavy into Arabic original content and live sports. So those are the two areas where we think we're going to differentiate our content because the local audience needs that.
It does, totally. And none of the international players are coming anywhere near. As a matter of fact, I don't want to name one of the streaming services, but I think their localization has been predominant. It's actually quite weak. Whether they don't care about it because they're too big, or they don't have the right way of collecting data on their consumers that do not know. Because I am a TV addict, as in I hardly sleep. I watch.
So you're one of our ideal customers.
I'm the ideal customer. Yeah, I'm the kind of guy who on a good weekend can go through 12 to 14 hours of binge watching. I just I saw The Sopranos all over again, I think in less than 2 weeks. Yeah. Right.
You and I, same. I've seen Sopranos like 4 times.
Yeah. So it's, who wouldn't, is my view. Let me circle back to where we started, right? You're a successful founder. You've been, you've been running a business nearly for a decade in this market. And especially it's an online business, right? Yeah. And online businesses do have challenges, right? What's your kind of advice to sort of startups or entrepreneurs or founders or whatever they may be who are starting these online businesses? How should they think differently? What should they do differently to sort of succeed? Right?
Yeah. Well, there's a few thoughts that come immediately to mind. I think when we look at emerging markets, Middle East and North Africa, one has to keep in mind that even we have a tendency to consider MENA as one big block, and that's far from truth, right? In the Gulf markets, the per capita discretionary income, the GDP, the infrastructure is very similar to Western Europe. And then, in North Africa, infrastructure is different, affordability is different. So we have to keep that in mind. It seems like an obvious thing, but we still challenge ourselves every day. Even today, we were talking about how we localize our service in Egypt versus Morocco. And you have to get into that hyper-localization. If you're going to launch a product in Middle East and North Africa, you have to hyper-localize your product or your service. So that's one. Second, I would say, as with any business you're launching online or more traditional, as an entrepreneur, we have to keep in mind that as much as believing in your own ideas and conviction in your ideas is important, the flip side is having that humility to accept when you were wrong and ability to go back and adjust is extremely important. Because we've run a successful business so far, but we've also made a lot of mistakes. But we've also gone back, always admitted those mistakes and adjusted and corrected for those. I think sometimes we fall in love with our ideas and forget what the bigger picture is. And finally, I think the third one, I would say that the journey is a hard one. And one has to figure out what that deeper purpose is, because when things do get extremely difficult, you need to be able to dig deep.
Yep.
Find that energy, right?
Yeah.
That resilience, the adversity quotient, all of that. And I think that adversity quotient comes from whatever your deeper purpose is, right? It could be you want to leave a legacy for your kids. It could be you want to buy a bigger home or a car, but whatever that is, make sure it's there and you're clear about it.
That's great, Maaz. Maaz, it was a pleasure to have you. I particularly enjoyed your answer on the last question. So I take away hyper-personalization or hyper-localization, having that deeper purpose and having the humility to sort of evolve and learn. I think that's quite critical. And I think people forget that those are sort of the tenets of success. And I think if I was to ask the vast majority of successful founders, irrespective of what sector they come from, I think these three would sort of be in the top 5 lists 95% of the time. I really appreciate you taking out time from your busy schedule. It was a pleasure to see you. I'm going to ask you one last question. What's your favorite series going on right now?
Has to be Billions. I'm a Billions fan.
Okay, except Billions, because we've already given them the...
So for me, right now, I'm watching Turkish dramas.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, okay. They're dubbed in Arabic and subtitled in English.
Okay.
So I'm watching Ertugrul.
Yeah, well, I've heard. I've heard a lot of things about. A lot of good things about that.
But the interesting thing with Ertugrul is I've been watching it for the last year and a half, and I'm still only on season 3, and I've still got 2 more seasons to go.
Okay.
Because they have 100 episodes each season.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, and each episode is like 1 hour.
Wow, that's
it's slow burn. It's a lot of content.
That's a lot of content. That's a lot of content. I might take you. I might do it. Maybe with some of that might be the idea. But I've heard some very good content comes out of Turkey.
It's it's amazing. We just acquired a sequel of Ertugrul.
Okay.
So Ertugrul is the father of Osman, who was the founder of the Ottoman Empire. Yes. So the sequel is actually about Osman. So you learn history as well, not 100% factual, but it's
entertaining.
It's entertaining. A lot of action.
Entertaining. Right. No, thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you, Arjun.
Appreciate you taking out time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maaz, for taking out time from his rather busy schedule and watching his TV series. It was a pleasure to have him here. I've seen Maaz over the last sort of 5 years, predominantly in a social context, but it's actually quite impressive to see the rise of StarzPlay and sort of grow and become one of the dominant players in the region, and they're obviously in countries like Morocco, which I didn't know about. So that's great. So I'd like to thank Maaz, and with that, I'd like to say goodbye till the next episode.